We're at MIPIM 2024 and we are joined on the set of BiTV by Mrs. Breen, who is Head of Real Estate at Aberdeen. Breen, thank you for joining us on BiTV.
Welcome.
You participated yesterday at the Invest Summit, where a lot of the main teams that are animating this MIPIM this year were debated by investors. What were maybe the biggest subjects, the biggest themes that caught the attention and captured the minds of investors in this, shall we say, peculiar time for a real estate investment in Europe?
Well, interestingly, last year's conference, Reinvest conference, was focused on, the investors were focused on interest rates, inflation, war, and the impact on real estate. This year, the feedback I had was there were a shorter list of worries, and actually not necessarily interest rates and inflation. What investors seem to be most concerned about is valuations. So the pace at which valuations have adjusted around the world. So some markets such as UK that have repriced very quickly, other markets that are potentially further to go. So that was one of the key points. I would say the other point, which is more long-term in nature, would be the cost of decarbonising assets and the challenge for investors to decarbonise to reach their ambitions of net zero and the impact that would have on returns for their clients and investors, and actually the underlying risk of the assets. So I would say valuations, decarbonisation, and then perhaps the speed of the recovery and the speed of the recovery from here.
That's a good point, because after 18 months of big rate hikes and a lot of uncertainty on the macroeconomic front, there seems to be now a stabilization on that environment, but in 2023 there was very few real estate investment. When we talk about recovery, is 2024 the year of the rebound, where we can maybe expect investors to start deploying capital on European real estate, do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely we'll see a turning point in 2024. I'm not sure that rebound. I think what we'll see is more transaction activity, because actually we've got quite a large amount of refinancing across the sector, which will result in some sales and actually some funds that have redemptions. So there will be more transaction activity, which I would say is the first step towards a better, improved market. And then I think the investors, so the LPs, thinking about allocating again back into the sector, will further improve that rebound and that next leg of the cycle. I think one thing that's quite interesting for this cycle is we actually haven't seen an awful lot of distress in the occupier markets. So the underlying tenants haven't seen the same retrenchment as in previous cycles. So that should mean that the market normalises and improves much more quickly than in other cycles.
And to navigate this recovery period, what is Aberdeen's strategy? What are the main lines you're looking to follow as you go forward in 2024 and beyond?
Well, I would say, we don't particularly use an awful lot of debt, so we're not significantly impacted by refinancing in most of our funds for our clients. But I would say what's quite interesting is that we actually haven't massively changed our strategy through this cycle, because the underlying thematics that we invest into for clients are very long-term in nature, and they're not necessarily disrupted by movements in interest rates. They're driven by the longer-term technology implications, the sources of power, generation of power, demographic shifts, and the effect that has on cities and urban environments. So they really don't change whether they've got a short-term period of higher inflation and higher interest rates. So I wouldn't say we've massively changed. I think through a more tense economic period, we're much more focused on the quality of our occupiers and their balance sheet and their ability to withstand stress. So that does have an impact on our leasing profile and focusing on our strength of our leasing.
Okay, keep calm and carry on. Is that the name of the game at the moment?
I think so. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Breen, for this valuable insight. It was a pleasure having you on BiTV. Also, thank you all for being with us, and we'll see you soon at MIPIM 24 on BiTV.